here we go again. So for this week's video, we're going to be doing something that I've needed to do for a really long time and have been putting it off. We're going to be focusing on the inner and outer tie rod. So I already have my new parts here. There's my inner, here's my outer. So let's jump into it. And while I'm doing this, we're going to be trying to utilize as many basic hand tools as I possibly can. As always, there is one tool, specialty tool, that I will be using that will make life so much easier and simpler for everybody. So let's come over here and see what we're working with. So I've already got the wheel and tire off. I've already got it jacked up. So right here is our outer tie rod. As you can see, there's no grease fitting there or bleeder valve to be able to service it. It looks like it's in pretty good shape from what I can see, but we're gonna go ahead and replace it anyway. And then if you follow this back, there's our locking nut right here, which follows into our inner tie rod, into a boot, and then underneath of that boot is where the back portion of the ball joint is for the inner tie rod. So we'll get through all this as we go. So like I said, I've already got it, as you can see, I've already got it jacked up. I already have the wheel off, just to save a little bit of time. At this point, you guys have seen, I'm sure, enough people take tires off to know how to get to that part. So let's start down here with our cotter pin. Get that bent up and knocked out. And grab on this side, and we're not worried about damaging this one because, like I said, we have a new one. So we're just gonna work that guy back and forth until we get him out of there. Half of it there. Okay, so now with this part, more than likely with the outer, even though it seems to be pretty solid, there doesn't seem to be a lot of tears or dry rot cracks in the bushings. Usually these tend to fight, so if you have an impact, I definitely recommend using it, because as these loosen up, sometimes they want to start to spin internally, so there's nothing to prevent it from spinning, and it can make for a headache. So if you have an impact, generally you can just rip it right out of there, or you can take a tool like a pickle fork, as they call it. You can get those offline relatively cheap. So in my particular case, the castle nut, which is what they call that, is a 17 millimeter. And for time's sake, you could do this with a breaker bar. I'm just going to use my impact to save time. And with that, there's our castle nut. We will not be reusing it, but as I always say, keep it around, because you never know if you may need it. Something may happen with the new one. Generally, when you replace them, they will not be the exact same. So even though we're not worried about doing this, we're not worried about saving this one because we are replacing it. A little trick you can do: take your castle nut, and you can see how it has little ridges in it. Turn that, will normally be facing downward like this. Take it, whoop, I dropped it. Take it and turn it up with the notches cut out facing upwards. Rethread that on there for if you are trying to just replace an inner, or you need to get this out of the way, but you don't have the intention of replacing it. You're just going to reuse it, and just spin that guy on there. until you get a good amount of thread. You don't need a lot, just get it to where to catch a couple threads and you still got a gap. That's on there. And then all you need to do is take a hammer, like a dead blow or whatever, and smack the bottom of this, and that will drive that up. So let me grab my hammer and we'll smack that out of there. So I've got this. Let me slide you guys out of the way for just a moment. Let's see if I can find a real hammer. Let's try a ball peen hammer. See what that does for us. Now this is off. So then you can free spin your lower control arm and what have you. So what we're gonna do for now is put that back in place. And then we're gonna have to set that in there, and then we're gonna have to break this nut loose here to be able to get this where it's not locked anymore. I think it's a 20 or a 21. We're gonna find out. Yeah, we're gonna go with the 21. So lefty loosey, righty tighty. Now you don't have to loosen that a bunch. Let's try a 20 just to see if I can get a little bit better bite on that. Oh yeah, yeah. So get down here where I can get to it. Oh, she's rather tight, which is always fun. We're just going to try to work it back and forth till we get it to where it will maybe break free. Okay, so now we got her to break free. And another trick you can do if you need to is if you take a smaller wrench. Let me see if I can find the size and then I'll show you guys. It's a 13, maybe. Yeah. So let me get you guys in here. I don't know how well this will pick up on the camera, but this whole thing, or almost the entire inner, is octagon shaped. So you can actually stick a smaller wrench on there, and then you can put a bigger wrench here and then spin them counter of each other, one left, one right, and then that'll give you the extra leverage to be able to break that free. Pull reverse of each other like that. So that should be free enough. We're going to find out. Now what you want to do is, you can see how it's spinning like this now. So once you've got it set, go ahead, make sure it's lined up with that hole perfectly flat like that, and then just carefully lift up, and then with the stud down, that'll be counted as one revolution. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So 10 revolutions for me to get the outer off. So we want to remember that for when we go to thread it to the new outer to the new inner. That way you'll be somewhat close enough on your alignment to at least be able to get it to an alignment shop directly after doing this. So now what we need to do is we need to go right here and we need to remove this clip here. And then on the back, which I know we cannot see, there's actually like a, on most of them there's going to be a metal band of some sort. Sometimes you can get fortunate enough to just break those free just by pulling on the rubber boot. So there's that one there. I'm just going to leave it attached onto that so I don't forget about it. And you can see how loose this thing is. I mean, that's it shouldn't flop like that, guys. That thing is wore out. And I wish I could really see that band. So I may have to cautiously and unfortunately crawl under this thing, which I did not want to do. Yeah, I can only kind of see the band, which is unfortunate. And I can't see it from the back side. To see where that little guy is. What I'm going to do for now, until I can see it better, is I'm going to take a utility blade and I'm actually going to notch that rubber boot. And then I'm going to make a nice even cut all the way down. Trying to keep it consistent with the original slice that I made. Okay, so now I know that I've got a little bit of free space in there. Okay, I think I can see that notch now. If I can get my screwdriver into that and kind of pry on it, then we might be able to break this free that way. Up underneath that, there we go. All right, I was able to break it free. And that clip, that hose clamp, or whatever you'd like to call it, I'm gonna go ahead and take it off. I'm gonna set it off to the side because we will be reusing it. So now, I don't know if you can see it, it's kind of picking it up on camera. This is that clip I was telling you about. Chances are you will not be able to reuse that, so just chuck it off to the side. You can get replacements, or I'll show you how I do it. All this does is it protects the inner tie rod from actually, it's supposed to keep out moisture and keep it well lubricated. You can buy replacement boots. I see no point in doing that for this particular job because this one's not damaged in any way. And all of your axle boots will be different based on what type of vehicle you have. Some of them will actually have a little bit of a port, usually somewhere up here like a little nipples, and sometimes it's elbowed off like a little L shape, and that's a vent tube. Neither one of my sides had that on there, so for now we're just going to set this off to the side because we will be reusing it. So now that I got in here, I can show you that this is the entire run of that inner tie rod, and you can see how, once again, it should not do that. And you'll see a major difference. So then right behind it, I know it's kind of a crappy view, but you'll actually see the gearbox, the steering gearbox. And then I don't know if I can get my big fat hand in here and out of the way. There's a little like retaining clip or washer there that prevents this from backing off. So just be leery of that, because you may have to work with that. I'm gonna try to get you guys set back up. I want to keep you guys in view as much as possible. So with that little bit of a clip right there, what I'm gonna do, I don't know if you could tell if it was folded, that it's folded over. I'm actually just gonna flatten that or straighten that back out, just to make it where I can get this assembly off of here. Okay, so I've pressed it back out of the way. So now this is one of those, you don't have to have a specialty tool for this, but if you can, I recommend getting it. I've got mine here. If I can get this guy open, I'll show you what it looks like. This is an inner tie rod remover and installer. Like I said, I have used this once before. So if I can get this open and get it to where you guys can actually see it, then we'll be able to take a better look at it. So let me grab you guys. So this is the tool that I was referring to. So that is the actual main portion of the tool. Down here you have different little collars like this. Each one of them will be marked to various sizes. Like I said, it's been a while since I've done the passenger side. I kind of procrastinated. I had other things going on, but it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different sizes in it. If you can't get one of these, they are sometimes quite expensive. I bought mine from the my local Harbor Freight. I think at the time when I bought it, it was right around $24-ish. So not too bad. But if you can't find one to buy, you can rent it at any parts store, AutoZone, Advanced Auto, O'Reilly's, Napa, what have you. And then once you get done using it and you return it, they'll give you full reimbursement for it. It's part of their rent-a-tool program. So what you're gonna do is, I'm just gonna grab one because I don't remember what size it is. I'm sure this is too big, but what you'll do is, you see how it's kind of rounded, but then there and then down here it's flat. If I can get you in there close enough, right up there you'll see there's a flat spot there, and then on the bottom. So what you'll want to do is look for your size that you need, and I'm just guessing on this at the moment. So that seems to be a little bit too loose, so we don't want that. So let me find what size it is, and then we'll go from there. Okay, I think I found my size, which is perfect. Yes, so for this one, it looks like it's gonna be as marked on there, 1 1/4 inch. So now what you wanna do is, I don't know if I can pick it up, there you go. So what you'll essentially do is you'll take this, line it up with the notches like that, and then it has a collar on it. That collar will spin like that and lock in the tool, so then there's no more free spin for it. So take this, lock it onto your inner tie rod, and you'll have to get it as flush as you possibly can on here. So that it looks like that. And then you'll just simply see if you guys can see this or not. Okay, so here's my inner. We're just going to simply slide this over. We're going to line it up with the notches just like before. Just like that. So now, if you'll see on the end of this, there's actually a spot for a socket. You can try this with an impact. To be honest with you, I've tried it a couple of times with an impact and had zero luck with it. So now what I could do is reach back there and I could just simply twist that collar, but I'm not going to worry about it. So what I suggest doing, because I've tried it with an impact before on a different one and failed, is just get you a breaker bar. Breaker bars are a lot cheaper than what they used to be. I picked this one up at the local Harbor Freight along with this for I think $12. So once again, we're going to find which way it spins, hold your bar, and just simply turn like that. And then once you feel comfortable enough and confident enough that you've got it broke free, now you can just simply spin it off by hand. And then here we go. So there's that locking clip that I was telling you about. It's very important not to lose that. You're going to want to put that back on there because there's a flat spot here. And then of course I bent that back up. That will lock onto the end of the tie rod. And then on this side, you'll notice there's a tab here and a tab there. And what that goes to is, how well can we pick it up? You see the notch in that end of that tube there, up and down? That's where those two lock into. So now that we've gotten that far, now all we simply do is check the fitment of this to this. There's a little bit of play in it, so the end of these may be a different size. If you can't get this inner tie rod tool, you can take a pair of adjustable pliers, or what they call like a plumber's wrench, and you can get in there and fight it. It's just a whole lot more of an issue. So then what I wanted to show you guys, and I'll show you again, I can't move that, which is what you want. You don't want this to be flopping like the other one did. So with this on the end of it, we're just going to carefully get it started. And then we're gonna try to find our groove, locking groove on that. So I'm gonna hold it, and then I'm gonna go ahead with it locked onto that washer that we talked about on there. Now I'm gonna just spin the tie rod while holding the other one in place so that I can't turn it anymore. So now what we need to do is figure out exactly how to get the nut itself back on there to where it will lock itself in place. I'm just gonna go ahead and move on with our outer tie rod. And like I said, we counted it earlier and I didn't grab the other one. One thing I would recommend you do that I did not do is compare it, make sure it's about the same size. I did not do that. So like before, we counted it. We knew it took 10 revolutions. So we're gonna start out at the same point. We're gonna try to get that to get started. And once we know we got it started on there, okay, so We'll say that's just enough to get it on there, not very much, and we're gonna count 10. So we're gonna go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we know that's 10. That's possibly close enough. And if you want to make sure, just always grab your old one. I've got it slung it way over here. So one thing I did just forget, but I just noticed it, so I'm glad I did, is our rubber boot. We're gonna take it, slide it back over, slide it over top of that jam nut, like that. And then we're gonna shove it back up on there where it's supposed to be seated. There we go. So now it's up on there. Now we got that it's nice and seated. Now we can put our outer back on there. Get this grease off of our jam nut there. We don't need that on there. And then, as I said before, you're just gonna kind of get it somewhat started. So now it's on there. We're gonna count 10 revolutions. It's fine. Because like I said, the car has to be aligned anyway. So then you just take your jam nut, slide it all the way down. Just like that. And before you put that too tight, leave it a little bit loose. Go ahead and take this castle nut off the bottom. Just like this. Get that out of the way. And we're going to turn our lower control arm where we need it. Just like that. Now we'll put this back on there. Pull it through. Just do it hand tight for now. Just so that it'll hold it still for us. Okay, that's good enough for now. Now, just like I showed you on earlier, we're gonna look at this and you can kind of pick up all the boxed in now. This one runs almost a full length from here to here, but on the new one, it's not as long. See if I can get you guys in there. You can only see that it's from here to here, so maybe about an inch and a half maybe. But then if you look down here, I know it's going to be hard to pick up, it's got some little flat spots on the side of the outer tie rod for you to bite onto to be able to lock that nut down, the jam nut. So I think the jam nut was a 20 or a 21. Definitely a 21. I think the new one is bigger, so it might be a 22 on this one. Which is to be expected. Different part might be a different size. Okay, so we know we got that. Now we need to find a size that will fit around that outer. 21 seems to be fine. Push against each other like that. Make sure it's nice and secure. So so that it can't come loose. So looks like it's going to be a 17 mil for this one. Yep, 17 mil will be perfect. So in the end of this outer tie rod, let me get my old one here to show you. There's a hole right there where your cotter pin goes into, and you're going to want to get the castle nut down here. See if I can get you a better view of that. You're going to want to get the notches on the side of that castle nut lined up with that hole so that you can put your new cotter pin in there. So for now, let's just get this tightened up. Right there. Then, like I said, the new one came with a new cotter pin. So then you just simply pick whichever side you have the most clearance on. I'm gonna try from the front, if I can. Push that guy in there just like that. And then I'm gonna take my pair of pliers, if I can. I like for mine to be setting sideways. Some people prefer it the other way. Whichever way you can get it in there will be fine. Give that just a few love taps. And then take it. I'm gonna twist mine around like that. I want it to be up kind of close. See if I can get to the back side here somehow. So now that I know that that can't come out no more. And then all we're gonna do for the rubber boot, because we already broke that metal clip, is I'm gonna take and see if I can get you guys in here. I'm gonna go up there and I'm gonna put a band around it. And then of course I forgot about it, but that actual clip was supposed to go there, but it was actually too small for this one, so I couldn't get it to go on there. So I'm actually just going to take a zip tie and wrap around this as well, and it should be just fine. So if you actually, I don't know if you can see right there where this finger is, you'll see like a little notch. When you go to put that on there, just make sure it's on that, and then it's at its locking point, because there's a groove cut into that right there. I can actually show you on this one here. That groove right there is where the end of that boot needs to go. If you have the time, check yours before you do this. That way you know if that little hose clamp will actually hold it or fit it or not. It wouldn't fit this new one, so I'm just going to put a zip tie around it and I'm going to call it done. If I can get this a little bit better, there's these little metal zip tie bands, and I'm going to try to get that on the inside of this and see if I can't do that for the inner portion of it and make sure that it's on there properly. There we go, just like that. Perfect. Now you got a great shot of it. So if I got that metal piece on that metal clamp on the back, just going to take it, bend it around just so that I can kind of fold it out of the way. Now, it's not going to be perfect, but definitely better than what it would have been with a zip tie. And we're just going to let that dangle for now. We can always cut it later or something. Turn Turn that boot upwards like that. Then we're just going to take our regular zip tie, and we're just going to do that outer piece, which we can easily get to. We'll easily be able to trim it off. So we'll get it right there, get it into that notch. Like we said earlier, get this down there a little bit better. And then just simply zip tie her closed. And because we split that boot, we're going to leave it facing upwards, just like so. Go ahead and cut the zip tie down. Get that out of there. And that's basically it. Took a little bit longer than I was hoping for, but it's done. It's on there. I'm glad that I finally got it done. Now I just have to put the wheel and tire back on, get this guy aligned. Hopefully this helps somebody out. Hopefully you can now do this on your own. Just remember to check everything beforehand. Make sure everything is gonna kind of match up to your old stuff. Your inner tie rod might be a little bit longer, but don't worry about it. It's just fine. And yeah, also another thing to remember, check your torque specs on everything. As usual, everything has a torque spec. If you don't have a torque wrench and you don't have a friend that you can borrow one from, you can get them at Harbor Freight right now, pretty cheap. I think they're right around maybe 15-20 bucks, and they have them in 1/2 inch, 1/4 inch, and 3/8 drive. So will fit basically any size socket that you have available or that you can get. And then the last thing to remember on this is a grease fitting. Make sure you fill this thing full of grease as much as you can. That'll be my last thing that I'll do on this, and I'll throw it back together. If this helped you guys, if you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave a comment down in the comment section. If you have any questions, leave them down in the comment section. And as always, like, share, and subscribe. And I'll see you guys next time.